Hey everybody, welcome to How Git Works in the context of a Copado repository. Thanks for joining me. So my name is William Anderson. I work for COTS Automotive as a senior release engineer, and I've been working with Copado for about 4 years, just helping the company integrate a few different Salesforce orgs and standardize the release process around that. So I'm really happy to be talking to you guys today. And so the topic for today is really broken down into two sections. The first is just the fundamentals of Git, sort of what is Git. I think as developers, we know how to use Git in order to get things done. We've all cloned a repository, made commits, open pull requests, stuff like that, but we kind of don't really, a lot of us don't really understand what it is. And so that I want to approach that in the first half of the presentation. And then in the second half, I'm going to switch to a screen share. And I'm actually going to demonstrate the Copado branching strategy just using Visual Studio Code and command line. And we'll just do some Git commands and see how creating and promoting feature branches and promotion branches and all of that works. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first important distinction that I think is useful to make is between Git and GitHub. So a lot of times people get these confused or mixed up. And so just for clarity, Git is a version control system that lets you manage and keep track of your source code. Whereas GitHub is a cloud-based hosting service that lets you manage a Git repository. So Git is a command line interface that you run locally on your machine or you run remotely on a server. And then GitHub is a hosting service that lets you run, that lets you serve a Git repository with their hosting platform, and you interact with it through a web or desktop-based application. So Git is open source. You don't have to have any account to use it. Like I said, you install it on your local machine or you install it on a remote server. And whereas GitHub is a service operated by a private company, it requires an account. And with Git is decentralized. So a lot of people don't know this, but when Git was first created, it was designed to be decentralized, meaning there is no central repository. And then pretty quickly, people realized that it's actually a lot easier to use if you have a central repository. And so GitHub was created. So that's just sort of the distinction between the two. GitHub is a way of interacting with Git remotely, long story short. So let's dive into repositories. What is a repository? So a repository is, at the end of the day, just a folder. It's a singular folder on either your local machine or a remote server. And all files that have ever been created and committed in the project are stored in that folder. The structure and contents of all the folders that have ever been created are also stored. And then snapshots of all the files and folders at various points in time are also stored in the repository. And so these are all stored as objects in a hidden folder within that main folder. And so within that hidden folder, there are also some configuration files. But whether you're working with a repository on your own laptop or if you're working with a repository on a remote server, a repository is a self-contained folder. So there are no files outside that folder that you need. It's all contained within that folder. And so the main the thing that you interact with within a Git repository are the objects. So Git stores objects in three major forms. The first is a binary large object. So every version of a file that you've ever committed is stored in Git as a binary large object, a blob. And so Git stores this in a hidden folder, and it stores every version that you've ever created. In addition to tracking your files, it also tracks your directory structure. So your root directory, and then every folder within that root directory is also stored in that hidden objects folder. And so Git calls these trees. So it calls your files blobs, and it calls your folders trees. And then the final thing that it stores as an object are your commits. So commits are commits point to a particular working tree. So a particular version of your root directory at a given point in time. And then that particular version of your root directory will point to different blobs. And those different blobs represent a different point in time in your project's repository. So I thought this stuff was really cool. Whenever I was doing a deep dive into this, it's something that you don't really have to know at all to work with Git. But once you start to understand it, it makes certain things make a little more sense. It just makes connecting dots a little easier. Let's talk about branches and merging branches. So a branch is just a history of commits. It's just a string of working trees pointing to each other. Each repository has a main branch, sometimes called a master branch, sometimes called main branch, production branch. And then other branches are broken off from that main branch, and they represent an independent line of development. And so branching allows you to make changes to the code base without affecting the main code base. And that's really important when you're working with teams or when you're doing some sort of long-running project, and you need to maintain your primary code base just to work on bugs and stuff like that. And anytime you break off a branch, ultimately you're going to want to merge that branch back into the main branch. And so Git has a few different ways of doing that. Copado uses what's called a three-way merge. And so what a three-way merge is it takes the tip of your main branch, and then it takes the tip of your feature branch, and it compares those two against the last common commit. And then it presents the user with a choice of what they want to do. They can either keep the changes from the feature branch, they can keep the changes from the main branch, or they can keep both changes or create something completely new altogether. The point is, at the end of the process, there is a new commit, a fourth commit that is created. And that commit is created by the user. Now, in a Copado repository, a lot of time the user is the Copado backend. One of the advantages of Copado is that it actually automatically resolves a lot of merge conflicts for us. And so there are situations where the developers will have to use online conflict resolution to manually merge feature branches, but a lot of times the merge commits are actually created by Copado itself. But all merge commits in Copado are done using the three-way merge strategy. If you ever work on a project outside of Copado, you might be using something different. And so now I want to open up Visual Studio, and we'll just run through the Copado branching strategy. We'll just walk through creating a feature branch. We'll create a promotion branch for that feature branch, and then we'll create a couple more features, and then we'll actually create a merge conflict. And then we can resolve that merge conflict. And you'll get to see how all that works without using Copado. We're just going to use Git. So let me go ahead and switch to my screen share. Right now I have the dev console opened for just a developer edition org that I've created. And I have a class named Fruits. And so in addition to this, I also have an SFDX project created. And so this SFDX project, it's authenticated with that dev edition, and I've retrieved this class. And so here I just have a really simple working environment to go off of. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to initialize this project as a Git repository. So I'm going to say git init. And if I open up my file explorer, you'll see this hidden folder just got created. And if I open it, you can see a few different things in here. Most of this is just configuration, but there is this folder right here named objects that relates to the first half of this presentation. So right now, this folder is mostly empty. So let's go ahead and create my first commit here. So I'm going to stage all the files in my folder. And then I'm actually going to create my first commit now. So git commit. And for my commit message, I'm just going to say init. And so what I did, I just committed every single file in my project to my Git repository. And if I open up my file explorer, now I can see all of these different folders. So Git stores these objects in a kind of confusing way. There's really not a good way to interact with that outside of Git. But every file in every folder and every commit are stored as these binary large objects. And they're represented by hashes. You'll see these hashes all over GitHub. And you'll see GitHub reference trees and commit some blobs in the URL bar. It's all pointing to this folder. That's where all that stuff happens. And so every file that is in this file tree and every folder that's in this file tree just got committed and stored here. So let me go back to the working directory. Go here and go here. And then I'll switch back over here. So the first thing I think we need to do is create our branches for our environments. So let's recreate a really simple Copado pipeline. So right now I'm on my master branch. I'm going to rename that to prod. So I'm going to say git branch. I'm going to rename master to prod. And so if you look down here, that should change in a second. And then I'm also going to create a few more branches. So I'm going to say git checkout a branch named dev1. I'll check out another branch named dev2. And I'll check out a final fourth branch named stage. And so if I list all my branches, you can see I have a really simple pipeline. I have a production branch, I have 2 dev branches, and then a stage branch. So really simple. Let's go ahead and create our first feature branch. So Copado creates feature branches from production, unless you specify otherwise, which I've honestly never had to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say git checkout. There's a little bit of a delay when I type. I'm going to check out feature / user story 1. And I'm going to create this branch from prod. And so now if you look down here, I'm on my feature branch. And if I say git log, I can see the commit history from my feature branch. Commit that I made. Let's open up our org, and I'm going to make a simple change. For this particular change, let's assume that I'm in the dev1 sandbox. I only have one org to work with, so we'll have to use our imagination a bit. But I'm just going to create a simple change. I'm going to add some fruits. I'm going to add a banana. I'm going to add an orange. Or sorry, an apple and an orange. Right, and then I'm going to save that. Let's go back into Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to retrieve the source from the org. So if I were doing this with Copado, what that would have looked like, I would have created a user story, and then I would have gone to commit changes, and then I would have selected that component from the metadata grid, and then I would have clicked commit. At that point, a feature branch would have been created. It would have retrieved the source from the org, and then it would commit that change to the feature branch. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll stage it, and then I'll commit it. I'll call the commit user story 1. And then the final thing that happens in the commit process is that it merges the feature branch into the dev branch. So I'm going to check out the dev branch. This we're on dev 1. I'm going to merge the feature branch into the dev branch. All right, great. So that was merged successfully. Let's promote it. Let's go ahead and promote it. So feature branches are always created from production. Promotion branches are always created from the target environment. So in this case, the target environment is stage. So I'm going to check out stage. And now I'm going to check out a promotion branch from that. So git check out a new branch. And we're going to call this one promotion / user story 1 to stage. We're going to create it from the stage branch. Cool. So I'm on this promotion branch, and let's go ahead and look at it. So this promotion branch only contains the initial commit that we made. Now let's merge the feature branch. Cool. So if I go ahead and log the commits, what I can see is that now it has the initial commit, and then it also has the feature commit that we just made. And so again, we're on the promotion branch for stage. So what this would have looked like in Copado, we would have either checked, promote, and deploy, or we would have submitted it to the CI/CD pipeline, and then a promotion record would have gotten created. And then pretty soon after that, this promotion branch would have gotten created. And so it clones the branch for the target environment. So in this case, it was stage. And then it merges the feature branch into that promotion branch. And that's usually where merge conflicts happen. In this case, there were no merge conflicts. And so that was great. So the next thing that Copado will do, it will actually take this file from the promotion branch. It'll then zip it up and then deploy it using the metadata API. If the deployment's successful, it's going to take this promotion branch and it's actually going to merge it into the target environments branch. So let's go ahead and check out stage. And let's just assume that this promotion was successful. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't actually commit. So let me do that really fast. So now I'm going to merge the promotion branch for user story 1 to stage. All right, great. So that merged successfully. Let's do one final promotion to production, just for good measure. So I'm going to say, I'm going to check out a promotion branch. And this time it's going to be to prod. And then we're going to create the promotion branch from the target environment. So in this case, it actually is production, which is the same as a feature branch. And once that is checked out, check out prod didn't match any file. Oh, I always forget this branch flag. I'm sorry. All right, great. So now we're on our promotion branch for production. Let's merge the feature branch. That merged successfully. And then we'll do one final merge. I'm going to check out production. I'm going to merge the promotion branch for production into the production branch. All right, great. So we just successfully promoted a story all the way from a dev box to production just using Git. No, we didn't make any actual deployments, obviously, but you can see how that works behind the scenes. And this is what Copado does for you. And it just lets you do all this with a user interface, which is really cool. It would be really bad if we had to do this every time we wanted to move a story. Let's create a merge conflict. So I'm going to go back to dev 1. So this is my dev1 box, and I'm going to add a fruit. So I'm going to say string banana. I'm going to save this, and then I'm going to go back to my SFDX project. I'm going to check out a new feature branch. I'm going to call this user story 2. And remember, all feature branches are created from prod. And so in Copado, I basically would have created a new user story. I would have gone to commit changes, and I would have started adding my changes from the metadata grid. Then once I hit commit, a feature branch gets created, and then that feature branch gets merged into the dev branch. So we're on the feature branch now. Let me go ahead and retrieve my change. And there's my banana. Great. Okay. So I'm going to commit that. And then the final thing I'll do is merge my feature branch into my dev branch. So we were in dev1. And now we're done. So now our user story is created. We've committed to our user story. Our user story is ready to promote. So let's promote it to stage. So whenever we promote to stage, a promotion branch is going to get created. So we're going to check out a promotion branch named promotion user story 2 stage. And we're going to create that promotion branch from stage. I think I misspelled promotion. Awesome. Cool, so we're on our promotion branch, and this time I'll just go quickly. I'll merge the feature for user story 2. That merges successfully. And then the final thing I'll do is check out stage again. And then we'll merge the promotion branch. So in this scenario, the deployment succeeded, and now we're merging the promotion branch into the environment branch. So git merge promotion for user story 2 to stage. We're going to merge that into the stage branch. All right, great. Now let's switch over to our dev2 sandbox. So use your imagination a little bit and pretend that we are in dev2. So our class looks like this, and I'm going to add a third line. This time I'm going to add strawberry. Okay, so that's a different change. I'm going to save that. And then let's pretend that we're in Copado. We create a new user story, and so a new feature branch gets created. So I'm going to say git checkout feature user story 3. And we're going to check this out from production. Okay. I always forget that flag. Can I just add it to the end? Does that work? No, it doesn't work. Okay. So now we have our feature branch for user story 3. We're going to retrieve the change that we just made. And now we're going to add it and commit it. The final thing we'll do is merge it into our dev2 branch. So git checkout dev2. All right, git merge feature user story 3. And now let's quickly look at the commit history for dev2. So git log. Our dev2 branch only contains the commits for user story 1 and user story 3. Let's look at our stage branch. So git checkout stage. and then git log. Right here, you can see where we have a commit that isn't in our dev2 branch, which would be the same as our feature branch. So this will create a merge conflict when we promote it. So let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to create a promotion branch for stage. So git checkout promotion for user story 3 to stage. And then I'm going to say git merge the feature for user story 3. And cool, so now we have a merge conflict. So in Copado, we would see this on the promotion record, and we would see, we would go to the resolve merge conflict. There would be a little button at the top. And it normally gives you a 2-panel view, and I typically switch to a 3-panel view. And so if you switch to the 3-panel view, what you'll see on the left, you'll see your current change. So on the left, you will see the commit for your current change. On the right, you will see the commit for the incoming change. So this would be the change in your feature branch on the right. On the left would be the latest commit of the promotion branch. And then in the middle, before you add anything or do anything, what you see is the latest coming commit. And so Copado throws it to you to then decide what change to keep and what change to reject, or if you want to do something completely different. I actually just want to go ahead and accept both changes. And then I'm going to commit this. So I'm going to say, I'm going to stage it, and then I'm going to create a commit. And Copado always puts in this commit message, automatically resolved by Copado. Conflicts automatically resolved. I don't remember the exact wording, but if you look in your Git repository, you'll see these all over the place. Copado will do this whenever it's merging into your dev branch. Copado will do this whenever you're promoting. It doesn't just happen whenever you do it. It happens a lot. That's because it uses a 3-way merge strategy. And anytime you merge a branch with a 3-way merge strategy, you have to create a new commit in order for those branches to merge. So that's where that comes from. And so finally, we'll merge this into our stage branch. So git checkout stage. And because we resolved this conflict in our promotion branch, whenever I merge it, it merges successfully. And so I think I'll go ahead and stop there. I definitely did a very stripped down version of this. Behind the scenes, Copado is probably doing a few things a little bit differently. I know depending on the type of org you have, it probably isn't using an SFDX project. Some of the Git commands it's executing are probably a little more complex than this. But just for the demonstration of this video, we followed the branching strategy that Copado uses to promote user stories, and we just did it using Git, and got to see how all that works and what it looks like when you encounter a merge conflict. So yeah, and then we got to explore kind of what happens behind the scenes with Git as well. So I hope that's valuable to you guys. I hope that sheds some light on some areas of Git that you may find confusing, or some areas of the branching strategy with Copado that you may find confusing. And so I guess now I'll just throw it out to some questions. So let me look at the comments. Let's see, there's a comment from Kevin. I'm looking for that comment from Kevin. Chloe, would you mind just go ahead and pasting a question into the bottom of the chat that I can answer? I can see where Monica has said, one remark, Copado will always add the no fast forward option for merges to always have the feature branches independent of the environment branches. Yes, that's true. So Copado by design enforces the 3-way merge. So a no fast forward. Fast forward is a different type of merge. It's pretty much the simplest merge that you can do with Copado, with Git. It doesn't have any commit history with it. That's sort of the downside. The upside is that it's very fast. and it's very efficient. And so, yeah, Copado doesn't fast forward ever. Okay, I think that's it. I think we've covered pretty much all we need to cover. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the community day. And yeah, talk to you guys later. Take care.